The Kill Team is about a young soldier in Afghanistan, played by Nat Wolff, who goes up against his squad leader, played by Alexander Skarsgård, after discovering that he has concocted a scheme to murder Afghan civilians and disguise the crimes as legitimate combat engagements. And so, the movie is really about how far are you willing to go to defend what you believe is right, or to prevent something that you believe is wrong from happening. And I think the process of moving from the documentary to the feature fictional adaptation was a process of moving from the objective to the subjective. So for me, it was a process also of setting free my kind of journalistic background, my principles as a nonfiction storyteller, in order to access the truth at an emotional level. And that's the truth with a big T, as opposed to the factual truth, which is the kind of objective journalistic truth that I engaged telling the documentary version of the story. And so with a character like Deeks, he's based on a person that I never had the opportunity to meet. So it was an emotional interpretation of the man that I understood from an objective distance in making the documentary, and engaging my creative gears in order to create a facsimile of a person that I understood to be a real person, but was in fact an invention of my own. Alex's character, Alexander Skarsgård, plays a character named Sergeant Deeks, and Sergeant Deeks believes he's the hero of his story. In his worldview, he's doing what's necessary to save American lives, and though it may be a repugnant and radical worldview, it's a worldview that he embraces and defends with a great deal of principle. As opposed to Nat Wolff's character, Private Brigman, who is malleable and who is subject to a lot of influence. Sergeant Deeks is very steadfast in his belief that he's doing the right thing, even though he's accomplishing a means to an end that may be viewed as abhorrent by the sort of general public. In his view, what he's doing is necessary, ugly but necessary. One thing I talked a great deal at great length with my cinematographer Stefan Fontaine about before we shot was creating a sense of intimacy, and we passed back and forth a lot of reference photos, and there were a set of photos by a photographer named Tim Hetherington, who was a war photographer who's actually killed several years ago in Libya. He had done a series of photos of soldiers asleep in their bunks in the middle of a war zone. And there was something incredibly vulnerable and intimate about those photographs that gave us a cue to how we would like to approach filming this movie. We wanted it to feel intimate. We didn't want to feel at a distance with the long lens, which is how a lot of war movies are often filmed, with a strong rectilinear telephoto lens. We were up close and wide in a way that created a very intimate and subjective feeling, so that the audience was in the dilemma that our protagonist, played by Nat Wolff, faces. We wanted the experience to be immersive.